storytelling. It's like any other aspect of theater. You're using the clothing to tell a story, and sometimes you need to kind of be very, very bold with your choices to help communicate thoughts and ideas to the audience. A lot of it depends on the script, it depends on the story that you're trying to tell. We do a lot with color families, do a lot of color blocking to try to communicate thoughts and ideas and relationships. And there's a lot of keying into the cultural context of what our audiences know and understand. So we all have these learned ideas about what certain colors mean and certain textures mean and certain lines and angles mean, even though we don't think about it on a day-to-day basis. We all have this kind of understanding because most of us who are watching these plays have grown up within the United States, within a certain culture, and so we have these ideas that we can very effectively communicate. But the audience doesn't really think about it, but they look and they're like, okay, this person is wearing sharper angles or darker colors, they are going to exhibit a certain personality, versus this other person who's wearing softer colors or softer textures, they're going to communicate a different personality. So we're always just trying to highlight what the text is telling us that these characters are, so that the audience can really just sit back and enjoy the story to the fullest extent.
So talk to me about the design process, kind of that first design meeting to fittings, which happen in 15 minutes.
Well, it always comes from the director first off, where we sit down with the director and see what their vision for the show is. We want to make sure that our design and our process is going to fit in with the overall world that the director is creating. So with Bright Star, at least, I'm designing Bright Star, Adrian designed Go Back for Murder.
Yeah.
So with Bright Star, Rachel kind of came in with this, not really a specific time period, but she wanted there to be a distinct difference between the 1920s cast and the 1940s cast. So we looked at the different styles that were popular during those time periods, and we're also looking at a color shift between the 20s and the 40s. So since the 20s is supposed to be the memory of the people in the 40s, we're looking at more sepia tones, more brown tones, and that sort of thing, kind of like looking back at an old photograph. And the 1940s cast is going to be in more vibrant, bright colors.
So you're kind of using color story as the storytelling element to that piece.
Exactly. And it's a little flexible since everybody is going to be on stage for the whole time. So it's a lot of mixing of the 20s and 40s cast for the big ensemble numbers, but we're still trying to hold true to that past and present sort of feel for it.
And so when you're designing a musical, is there a big difference between designing costumes for a musical versus designing costumes for a play? Because I feel like musicals inherently have a lot of movement.
Yeah, you just have to be more cognizant of movement, of who's doing dancing bits. You just have to be aware of what the actor is going to need to do. So things like, put them in stilettos, make sure they have stable shoes, and making sure that their clothes have enough space and enough movement that they can do what the choreographers and the dance captains need them to do.
And how hard is it to find period pieces? Or are you creating period looking pieces from scratch, or are you starting with flea markets or antique stores or that kind of thrift stores to find period pieces and then kind of upcycling them?
Well, Adrian did a little bit of both on this. You want to talk about that?
Sure. So it's really interesting anymore. There's a really big retro movement out there. So there are a lot of vendors who have so many choices for you anymore. Anything from like unique vintage to Laura finds the most amazing things on Amazon. I always tease her because when she goes shopping on the internet, she gets a totally different search result than I do. It's not the same. It's like a parallel universe. So, but we have like ModCloth and that sort of thing. But also too, it gives us a really great opportunity to build. That's where I think our shop is really, really special, because we do enjoy building. We have great pattern selection of vintage patterns and reproduction patterns, but also too we like to drape and build. But a lot of the the pieces that I selected were from reproduction or vintage patterns for Go Back for Murder. So you'll see a silhouette was really important to the director Mia, especially for the ladies. So we'll see some classic when we're placed in the 50s. We'll see some of the full skirts in the 50s in contrast with Laura's character, a little bit more sleek, and angles. So playing that up is really fun. So Laura's really awesome at thrifting, and we go shopping. So it's a nice combination. You pick and choose what you have with your budget and the time and what's really special to you and what's available. So.
And so Theater Fest has a different format this year in that they're having an open house and people get to meet the makers. People will get to meet you guys and come in here and see the costume shop. What do you think about this whole stripping down of the fourth wall and allowing people behind the scenes to see kind of the backstage magic? And what do you hope people will take away from that experience?
I think it's a great idea. I'm super excited to have folks come and see what we do and see how it gets done, because that's part of building community. I mean, we're the community theater for NC State, and we like to be able to open that up to the broader Raleigh-Durham community, and to have the opportunity to really inherently share what we do with everybody is really exciting. And I think and I hope that people will have the opportunity to come backstage, see who we are, see what we do, and have a greater appreciation for the stories that they like to see on stage. The more you know, the more you appreciate it.
I agree with Laura. I think so much of what's interesting about what we do is what happens behind the scenes, and I personally have always loved being behind the scenes, working and putting the costumes on stage and whatnot. And so it's fun to sometimes get to sneak a peek behind the curtain and see the time and effort that people put into things, because I think you really realize how much people value what they're doing, and that value is given to you. And so, like Laura said, hopefully the community can see how much we care by the work we put into it. But also too, I think it opens possible doors for other people who might want to get involved in some ways, or want to learn more about what they love by what they see on stage.